Hey guys, SGT here. I'm very, very gratified to have on the line Bob Chapman of the International Forecaster. I personally think you're one of the great truth tellers out there, and I just appreciate everything you're doing.
Well, I thank you very much. I try the best I can.
You do a lot of interviews. You're very gracious with your time. And the International Forecaster is just a feat. 40 pages twice a week, and it's just some of the best detailed information that anybody can get. So I want to thank you for that, too.
Well, you're welcome. And I will keep it up as long as I stay healthy, and that I am at the moment.
Well, that's good to hear. I wanted to discuss something you write in the current edition of the Forecaster. You write, quote, "What will happen when QE ends?" Now, Bob, as you and I both know, the Chinese Treasury holdings are now at $1.12 trillion. And the only group on the planet that holds more Treasury debt than the Chinese is our own Federal Reserve, which now holds $1.22 trillion on its balance sheet. Bob, you asked the question, what happens when QE ends?
No, they can't. If they raise interest rates, they stop quantitative easing accompanied by stimuli, it's over, and they know it. They can't stop. It's like a drug. They've started to take it, and they can't get off it. And yes, I think we'll have QE3. What will be QE2? I think $1.7 trillion by September. I think the $862 billion pork package, which includes the non-increase in taxes in the bill that was passed in December. And those two together will be $2.5 trillion by September. And by the summer, the effects will be waning. Either in the fall or early next year, they'll announce QE3, and they'll keep the interest rates down. Although in the marketplace, in the long end of the bonds, the interest rates will move higher. I'm looking 4 to 4.25% on the U.S. 10-year. The following year, if we happen to have these Qs continue, we'll be looking at the 10s at 5 to 5.5%. And that means that we'll be looking at 7% 30-year fixed-rate mortgages, which means nobody will buy anything.
Yeah, and it's not going to end well for the American people, which, we can get into silver and gold and palladium and these ways that folks can protect themselves. But, Bob, I just want to back up a little bit. I know that most of the people that read your International Forecaster and most of the people that watch my channel are informed about history. But if we just back up a little bit and we relabel the boogeyman and we take away the name Bernanke and we focus on the Federal Reserve, which was implemented in 1913, and I think the agreement to create it was made in 1910. But, Bob, you're one of the greats that can really give us the perspective on what this beast is that we're facing. And when I say one of the greats, I put you up there with G. Edward Griffin and Ron Paul and the precious few truth tellers that are out there that are constantly trying to speak the truth to the benefit of the American people. So we have the Federal Reserve in 1913. In the Roosevelt gold confiscation in 1933, Eisenhower's farewell warning about the American war machine, and then the JFK assassination in 9/11. How are these events all related to what we're currently facing, Bob?
They're all related to the same group of people doing what they have to do at any particular time. Prior to the passage of the Federal Reserve Act, which was patently unconstitutional, but they passed it anyway, which is not unusual, Morgan had several times saved the financial system in the United States. Morgan is J.P. Morgan Chase now, is an appendage of the British royal family, and they're really the ones who control it. And they had been, quote, saving the U.S. economy during the problems between 1871 and 75, which is probably the worst depression America's ever seen. And then there were panics in the 80s, two of them, and then in the 90s. And so that was justification for these people saying at J.P. Morgan Chase and other banks, oh, we got to have this Federal Reserve. And so they put together all these secret meetings, which G. Edward Griffin describes in The Creature from Jekyll Island. And Ed's been a friend of mine since 1964. We're very good friends. Anyway, so we had this evolutionary process where the Fed was passed. In 13, we had a war. We had a depression in 2021. The president wouldn't do anything about it. It was over in a year. It just goes to show you how you can handle those things. And then, of course, we had what is called the Great Depression from 1929 through the Second World War. And then we had a war because we needed one, because unemployment was still 16.4% in 1940. And, of course, we lined up the ships in Pearl Harbor so the Japanese could come in and bomb them. And when I get in counterintelligence, I found that the Japanese diplomatic code had been broken by both the British and the U.S. Naval Intelligence in 1937. So they knew everything that was going on.
Right.
And they let them waltz in and do what they wanted to do. And the Fed, from time to time, has expansions, contractions, bubbles, and all these kind of things that go on in the economy. They're all created. They're all deliberate. And each time they do it, they make incredible amounts of money by cheating the American public. Well, they have a license to steal.
They do, and I think it was Mayor Amschel Rothschild that said, I care not who controls a nation's government or who makes its laws as long as we control the currency.
That's true.
And you're right. They regulate the currency, and by doing so, with permission to print it out of thin air and loan it back to the Treasury at interest, they've bought up the military-industrial complex. They've bought up our corporations. They've bought up our politicians. And what we're left with now is this beast system that essentially thrives on war, and it's just not sustainable, and it's not morally sustainable either.
It's a crime syndicate. People running around in $4,000 to $6,000 suits that would make Al Capone look like a lily white maiden. I mean, these people are bad. You know, I spent 29 years on Wall Street. I own my own firm, so I have got a great background to tell you what these people are up to.
Right.
And there's nobody else out there that's got that kind of experience. Even Paul Craig Roberts was never in the markets as such. He's a professional economist, among other things. He's a brilliant man.
Yeah, he is.
And then we have Max Kaiser, who's a character, but he's very, very good.
Yeah, he is. And
I like what he does. But he's been in the markets as well. And you can't get a grasp, really, on the financial and economic side of this thing unless you've been in the pits. And you also have to understand that nothing happens by accident or coincidence. It all happens because they make it happen. They don't use inside information. The people who own the Fed, the banks, the brokerage houses in the United States and in Europe, they create the inside information. They are the inside. And there's no way you can beat them. And they're dumb enough to do things like saying, last year we had 24 trading days that we lost money. I was a professional trader.
Yeah, it's impossible.
For 25 years. Give me a break.
Yeah, it's impossible. And Max Kaiser calls it economic terrorism, and that's what I love about Max. He, like you, he calls a spade a spade. He speaks truth, and I just admire people who do, because I know so many people in my own life that are unwilling to stand up for truth, and frankly, who are unwilling to even maintain friendships with anybody who's willing to speak truth. Because to a lot of people, Bob, truth is scary, because if what you and I are saying is true, which it is, it's quantifiable, it's provable, it's fact, that means that this country that so many people have grown up loving and embracing is really a fraud. And it's not the people of our country that's a fraud, it's the government. It's those that are in control of our government. They've hijacked our government. So when we hear people say, oh, it's our war, we need to get the oil in Iraq, or we need to get the precious metals and minerals out of Afghanistan, and we need to spread democracy in the name of... It's all a lie. There is no we left in America, Bob. The America you love and the America I love has been hijacked.
And you're absolutely correct. And we're going to get it back. And that's why I do what I do. And Ed keeps on doing what you do. And the other people who are on talk radio as well is on the Internet trying to get the truth out to the people of the world, not just America. And, you're talking about people and their acceptance of what we talk about. It's a matter of character. Some people govern it, some people don't. And you don't get mad at the people who don't have it. You say, well, look, when the time comes, follow my lead.
This concludes Part 1. Click here for Part 2.